The grand stage of echoing laughter. The velvet curtains, a deep shade of crimson that seemed to hold the secrets of 1,000 performances, swayed gently as the warm air of the theater circulated. Under the bright, golden glow of the spotlights, the atmosphere was electric, humming with the anticipation of 1,000 souls waiting to be entertained. It was a night where letters carried weight and melodies carried memories. The band began to play a Johnny tune, a rhythmic cadence that felt like a journey through the heart of the South. The lyrics filled the room, singing of how it is the letter T for Texas and the letter T for Tennessee. It was a playful tribute to the many letters that defined a life, especially the many letters for a woman named Thelma, a lady who had apparently left a trail of beautiful wreckage in her wake. In the world of the stage, celebrities were always regarded as something truly special, a breed of humans who carried a certain sparkle in their eyes and a permanent grace in their step. Amidst this glittering assembly stood a very handsome young man. He possessed the kind of sharp jawline and earnest expression that suggested he had spent his years in college not just studying books, but pondering the very fabric of existence. Ever since he had walked across the stage to receive his diploma, he had carried a single, burning question within his soul, a question he felt compelled to ask the world at large. He stood there, looking out at the sea of faces, and wondered aloud if anybody really cared that a man named Eli Whitney had once invented the cotton gin. It was a moment of profound, yet humorous, existentialism. The audience chuckled, warmed by his sincerity. This young man was none other than Jack Ford, a name that seemed destined for the bright lights. But the stage was not reserved solely for young philosophers. It was also home to remarkable writers and multifaceted talents. One such woman had recently graced the world with her literary prowess, though her subject matter was as unique as her personality. She had penned a cookbook that merged the fiery world of spicy foods with the grueling discipline of jogging. The title itself was a masterpiece of honesty, stating clearly that she hated to run, and she hated to eat and run, but she simply had to. This woman, known to the world as J.P. Morgan, admitted with a charming smile that she tended to mess up everything she touched, yet the world loved her all the more for it. Then there was a man who brought a different kind of energy to the room. He was described as a man who, though possessed of a notably long nose, was nevertheless quite short in his inseam. He was the one and only Jamie Farr, a figure of joy and eccentric brilliance. Beside him was an exciting performer, Mr. Pat, who claimed to find great joy in the simple, almost meditative act of sitting around and watching paint dry. It was a testament to the variety of the human spirit. The host looked around, searching for the next act, wondering aloud where these legendary performers had gone. You could not find acts like these anymore, he mused, as he introduced the next duo, Sissy and Gone. The music shifted to a folk-like rhythm as a story began to unfold through song. The narrator spoke of walking through the Strand one day and meeting a young lady who appeared so fair and so grand. Within 6 weeks, the wedding bells had tolled, and they were married. The bride was said to be just 19 years old. However, the story took a turn for the humorous and the surreal after the wedding, when they retired to rest. The narrator wondered if his face had changed colors as the young woman began to undress. To his utter astonishment, a trunk full of padding unfolded from her form. She was, as he put it, a dandy for both night and day. As he stood there watching her, he felt as though he might faint. She sprayed a bushel of paint from her pale face, removing the layers of cosmetic illusion. Then, in a moment that brought a roar of laughter from the crowd, she popped out her glass eye and let it roll onto the carpet. He counted her removable fingers and reached the number 3. When she finally removed her cork leg, it became clear that she was much closer to 90 years of age than 19. It was a tale of deceptive appearances and the comedy of life, ending with the sentiment that they truly deserved each other. The show moved forward with the introduction of the geniuses of our time. It was a pleasure to have such talent on the Old Gong Show. One such performer was Larry, a man who shared a deep and rhythmic bond with his xylophone. The music he produced was a gift from the performers to the audience, a melody intended to soothe the blues away. The singers promised that the music would cleanse the soul and reveal the true beauty within. They sang to the children and to those whose hearts felt old, reminding them that everyone is beautiful in the suit they were born in. The judges were moved. Jamie Farr gave the performance a score of 10, and the others had to agree. It was a perfect moment of artistic recognition. Between the acts, the airwaves were filled with the news of the world and the tools of daily life. There were mentions of King House do-it-yourself panels and the reliable motor oils from Quaker State, the kind that helped cars last through the seasons. There was talk of vegetable cooking sprays that kept food from sticking without adding unwanted fat or calories, and the tough, resilient house paint from DuPont that resisted the cracking and peeling of time. Even the simple joy of light and crispy Italian bread pizza was celebrated, a staple found in many a grocery freezer. The host, Chuck Barris, returned to the stage, welcoming back a familiar face, Father Ed. There was a sense of warmth in their reunion. Chuck presented Father Ed with a plaque, a token of appreciation, though the priest humorously admitted he had no idea what the plaque was actually for. Father Ed, who ran a sort of boys' town in the sunny lands of California, was asked for some words of advice or a few sensitive insights. With a dry wit that caught everyone off guard, he simply stated that he had never met a kid he liked. The irony was not lost on the audience, who cheered for his blunt and unexpected honesty. Next came a young comic named Paul Bashaw, who many believed was destined for the big time, even if the big time might occasionally hit him back. Paul took to the stage with a frantic, comedic energy, calling out for his mother. When he found her, he asked a question that many have felt at some point in their lives. Why was he so dumb? His mother, in her infinite and weary wisdom, told him to go ask his father. Paul then sought out his father, wondering if they were going to play a game of hide and seek. When he finally located his father and asked the same question, the man told him not to bother him and suggested he go ask the milkman instead. It was a classic piece of slapstick storytelling that ended with a gentle gong and a shared laugh. The performances continued with Diane, a woman who was not only an accomplished singer, but also held a brown belt in karate. It was joked that while most acts could break a brick with their hands, Diane could likely do it with the sheer power of her voice. She launched into a high-energy rendition of a classic song about the struggle to find satisfaction. She sang of driving in her car and hearing useless information on the radio, of the constant struggle to protect one's imagination. Her voice rose in a crescendo of rhythmic sounds, repeating the word bang over and over until it became a heartbeat for the entire room. As the echoes of Diane's performance faded, Jamie Farr noted that she had truly put a new wrinkle into the world of music. There was nothing wrong with something new, they agreed. The show then prepared the audience for what was coming next. There was a story of a harmonica player who had accidentally inhaled his instrument during a rehearsal and could now play the blues simply by sitting down quickly. From a small place near Baltimore, Maryland, came the performer known as Jinx. The sight of a man playing the mouth organ with such unique flair was described as something one did not find every day. Finally, there was Betty in Toyland, a performer who brought a sense of whimsical chaos to the stage. She insisted that the others were messing up her act, a playful demand for focus before the show took a brief break for the sponsors. The messages spoke of Orange Crush drinks that were smooth and fresh, and tennis rackets made by the largest makers of tennis balls in America. There were sprays for first aid to cool the sting of a sunburn, and kits to protect the vinyl and leather of one's prized automobile. As the night drew to a close, the celebrities gathered to make their final decision. The air was thick with suspense, but the joy of the evening remained the dominant emotion. After much deliberation, the winner was announced to be Jinx, the man with the musical spirit. The host reminded the audience to tune in again, promising more stories of haunted scientists and the daughters of the month. It was a night of pure, unadulterated entertainment, a reminder that in a world of complex questions, sometimes the best answer is a simple song, a loud laugh, and the courage to stand on a stage and share one's heart with the world. The lights dimmed, the music swelled, and the echoes of the grand stage lingered long after the last guest had departed into the cool night air.